Oh, we're not live yet, sorry. Okay. I would like to welcome all members and guests to the January 14th, 2026 OPP Detachment Board meeting. I will remind everyone that our meetings are web streamed and televised. Please ensure that your phones are on silent mode. For those attending virtually, please mute yourself when not speaking. When called upon to speak, please turn on your camera and unmute yourself. For staff in attendance, please use the Microsoft Teams raise hand feature to be called upon and remove it after speaking. And I call it to order now. Where are we? Yeah, okay. All right, we just had a few jigs here. With that, I call the January 14th, 2026 OPP Detachment Board meeting to order. Roll call. We have Member Cruz, Member Vanden Rishi, Chair Huffman, and Member Veery is not present. Committee has the agenda before them. We have one addition to the agenda, and that is vulnerable sector checks, which will mostly be directed to our OPP rep. Note, we do need a 2/3 vote to allow changes. May I have a motion to amend the agenda as presented? Moved by Member Vanden Rishi, seconded by Member Cruz. All in favor? And that motion is carried. And may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Member Vanden Rishi, seconded by Member Cruz. All in favor? And that motion is carried. At this point in time, number 3 on our agenda is disclosures of declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, that's great. Now, we will turn over to the clerk for the election of the chair and vice chair. Take it away.
As directed by the CSPA, the board must hold an election at the beginning of each year. At this time, we will elect our chair and vice chair. I will call nominations from the floor a first, second, and third time. If we have one nomination, that person will be appointed by resolution. If we have more than one nomination for a position, we will have a vote by show of hands to determine the member to be appointed by resolution. Do we have any nominations for the position of chair for the OPP Detachment Board for 2026? Councillor Huffman, do you consent the nomination of chair?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Member Vanden Rishi.
Calling a second time for any nominations for the position of chair. And calling a third and final time. Seeing no further nominations, may I have a motion to appoint Councillor Huffman as the chair? Member Cruz? Yep, Vanden Rishi. All those in favor? That motion is carried. I'll now pass it over to Chair Huffman.
Okay, thank you very much. 4.2 on our agenda is the election of vice chair. Moving on to the appointment of vice chair, we will repeat the same process. Do we have any nominations for the position of vice chair for the Agricultural Advisory Committee for the OPP Detachment Board for 2026? Member Cruz? Okay. All right. Member Vanden Rishi, do you consent to the nomination of vice chair? Yes, I do. All right. Calling a second time for any nominations for the position of vice chair. Calling a third and final time. Seeing no further nominations, may I have a motion to appoint Member Vanden Rishi, Councillor Vanden Rishi, as the vice chair? I will do that. Second, Member Huffman and Chair Huffman and seconder Member Cruz. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. Congratulations, Member Vanden Rishi. Okay. Excuse me. Number 5 on our agenda is confirmation of the minutes from the previous meeting. Recommendation that the minutes from the November 19th, 2025 OPP Detachment Board meeting be approved as presented. Were there any concerns or questions regarding the minutes? Seeing none, could I get that the minutes from the November 19th OPP Detachment Board meeting be approved as presented? Member Cruz, seconder. Member Vanden Rishi, all in favor, and that motion is carried. Presentations, we do not have any presentations today. Deputations. We have one written deputation today. Item 6.1 is Anthony DeCarlos, false alarm appeal. May I have yes. May I have a motion to receive the deputation as information? Member Cruz, seconder. Member Van Rishi, all in favor? And that motion is carried. Now, the committee as a whole, we will make a decision to either uphold or waive the false alarm charges related to this property. So at this point in time, everyone received a written deputation. Mr. DeCarlos was unable to attend in person. So with that, I'd like to start the discussion. And does anyone have anything that they would like to add to this discussion? Member Cruz?
Thank you. After reading the report that came to the board, I noted that the kiln alarm went off, indicating a malfunction in the particular kiln. And I also noted that Mr. DeCarlos said that it is an unfortunate necessity for these types of farms to have these types of things. I didn't read any indication of whether there was any issue or changes from any alarm companies. I didn't indicate there was a problem with the alarm. I don't believe, in my view, I don't believe that the Norfolk taxpayers should be held responsible to pay for any time OPP respond to these types of specific alarms. And in my view, this incident does not reach the threshold for a successful appeal.
Thank you very much, Member Cruz. Member Van Rishi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The issue I have is these are kill alarms, and I don't know if there's any way of either the public or whoever's making the call in can distinguish between that and an alarm for a building that there's some sort of intruder. It is essential that farmers, especially tobacco farmers, have kill alarms, because what happens is either that kill's gone into high heat or the kill is shut down. And it's a matter of the gas and or the expense that it is to the gas and the kill itself, because if you destroy a kill, it's fairly costly. So I have issue with it. I don't know how to handle it at the moment. It's just such a difficult one, being that it's a kill alarm versus a building alarm and anything like that. So, I'm still debating this one.
No comments, Member Vera?
Nothing
No.
to add, because I mean, basically, yeah.
Okay, so we have two scenarios basically on the floor. I do agree with Member Cruz. I don't think this meets the threshold for not continuing forward with the charge. If there's nothing else, I guess what we'll do is we will take a vote and a decision. So the committee should make a decision to either uphold or waive the false alarm charges related to this property. Could I have a motion for one direction, please? Member Cruz?
I move to uphold the fine.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Member Veery, all those in favor? And that is carried. Member Van Rishi, opposed? Yes. Excuse me. Number 7 on our agenda is correspondence. 7.1, there was a New Year update, legislative changes and discussion groups. Did everyone have a chance to review that information? Okay. Number 8, reports deferred from the previous meeting. We have none. Number 9 on our agenda, items for consideration. 9.1, there was a letter from the Honorable Michael Kersner, the Solicitor General. 9.2, there were Zone 4 OAPSB minutes from November 19th, 2025. 9.3, there was Inspector General Memo Number 8, Republic release of the first decisions by the Inspector General of Policing with accompanying findings reports. 9.4, there was the OAP SB quarterly newsletter. And at this point in time, before we jump to 9.5, did anyone have any feedback or comments regarding these items for consideration? Member Vanden Rishi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is just a curiosity that we haven't got a provincial appointment yet, and I'm wondering, should a letter be sent off to the minister or the Solicitor General just to indicate that we're still looking for one, or do we shake a leg somewhere, or what do we do?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. Actually, Member Veery and myself will be attending Roma this weekend, the Rural Ontario Municipal Association's conference, and we will hopefully have an opportunity to pass the concern along to the Solicitor General and see if we can get some feedback on that, because it has been quite a long time, and it would be nice to have a full board of members.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, where is, hang on just a moment. Sorry, my chair notes weren't the current ones. So at this point in time, item number 10.5 will come back to the vulnerable sector checks. So item 10.5 is the November and December 2025 stats. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Well, has everybody had an opportunity to read over the report? We'll start. Everybody's good with that? Excellent. So I'll be summarizing what we have here. So first of all, violent crime in events in Norfolk saw a decrease of 21.2% for this period, being November, December, and year-to-date a decrease of 15.3% compared to 2024. Did you want me to go over those numbers individually, or you have them in front of you? Do you want me to explain anything, or will you bring up questions as we go along?
Questions, Member Cruz?
Staff, can you just introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Sorry about that. Yes, I'm Staff Sergeant Gene Lorman. I'm with Norfolk OPP. Have been for almost a year now, and Inspector Tate, unfortunately, gives his regrets. He's unavailable for today and asked me to show up. So, thank you. Thank you. We'll go over to property crime. Property crime events in Norfolk saw an overall decrease of 46.5% for this period, and year-to-date, a decrease of 10% compared to 2024. Drug crime in Norfolk County saw an overall decrease of 50% for this period, and a year-to-date increase of 2.7% when compared to 2024.
Member Vanden Rishi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wonder if we could ask a couple of questions while we're right here at drug crime. So we look at it and it looks like a decrease, but yet we see a lot of what's going on the street.
Yeah.
So a bit of an oxymoron there. How are you doing with those individuals and when you make those stops who have the vulnerable people that are out there and the homeless that are tending to do a fair amount of drugs and the last little bit we've been hearing about quite a few incidents. How are we doing there with that type of drug? The curiosity question to me is this. we have an individual, they are suffering, but
Yeah.
yet they're overdosing, they have committed this particular crime, and even though, and then I understand the details, but is that measured in here, type of thing?
The simple possession charges you're talking about?
Or the use of?
If it comes along in routine patrol, if an officer actually finds somebody, most of these charges are like possession and trafficking, so that they're hand in hand, and they'd be a result of our CSEU unit, typically with their drug investigations. So most of our drug stats would come from CSEU and their efforts, so.
So in essence, that doesn't make part and parcel of this?
If there were, like from foot patrol, routine patrol, you're talking about dealing with potentially the encampments
Yes,
or
yes.
members, the vulnerable sector members that or vulnerable people, it would be, it would be represented in there for sure. I'm not sure how much there is actually.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. We are going to cover other crime. So other crime events in Norfolk saw a decrease of 37.9% for the period, and year-to-date decrease of 21.5% when compared to 2024. So just for clarification, other crime events are all other events not captured as violent crime, property crime, drug crime, and will consist of federal stats, provincial, and driving-related offenses. Unfounded occurrences are all occurrences that are investigated and deemed to not have occurred. Unfounded occurrences saw an overall decrease of 100% for this period, and year-to-date a decrease of 99.3%. And a lot of that, I know that came up in the past in 2025 as like, why are there so many unfounded? So a lot of it was actually just cleaning up the data and assigning some of our members to make sure there's a lot of better data and integrity with our niche reporting. So clearance rates are the percentage rates at which the investigations are cleared off, and so that'll be fluid and change often based on the status of the investigation. We'll move over to mental health occurrences. So mental health occurrences in Norfolk saw, it just stayed the same for this period, and then year to date there's an increase of 4.4% compared to 2024. Overdose occurrences. For this overdose events in Norfolk saw an overall increase of 100% for this period, and then a year-to-date decrease of 29.4% when compared to 2024. So just in explaining that, like 100% sounds like a lot, but it went from 0 to 1. So for that period, November, December, and it was a non-fatal overdose, which would have been dealt with by EMS and medical, right? Victim services referrals in Norfolk County saw a decrease of 29.8% for this period, and year-to-date a decrease of 8.8% when compared to 2024. In reviewing the victim services referrals for November, December, 231 events were offered, with 94 being accepted for an acceptance rate of 40.5%. We need to note that victim services has taken the initiative as well to meet with all our platoons. So that's typically done at the beginning of a day shift. So they'll meet with our platoons and remind them the importance of victim services and the effect that they have on victims of crime. And so.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment here to say that over the last few months, those numbers have concerned me.
Okay.
That there has been a decrease in the Vickers people taking up that service during during a crisis. So I'm glad to hear that Victims Crisis Services have taken the initiative to meet with the platoons and just continue to reinforce the value of that program. I know at times when an incident happens, people may think, I'm good to go, I'm okay. But I think it's really important for any individuals who have been the victim of any kind of incident should seek some service from Victims Crisis and go from there. So that's great news. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll bring your concerns to the command team as well so we can discuss and ensure that it is followed through. We're going to move to motor vehicle collisions. All MVCs, motor vehicle collisions in Norfolk saw a decrease of 8.8% for this period and a year-to-date of a decrease of 17.7% when compared to 2024. Property damage collisions, they decreased by 7.3% in the period, and year-to-date would be 19.3%. Non-fatal injury collisions saw a decrease of 22.7% for the period and year-to-date decrease of 7.3% when compared to 2024. And fatal collisions in Norfolk saw it stayed the same at 0% for this period and a year-to-date decrease of 16.7% when compared to 2024. I will have notes on that at the end as well. And I'm not sure why there is a decrease with the December weather that we had. It was pretty nasty, so I'm surprised that we had a decrease in the property damage collisions. So happy about it, not complaining. Charge and warnings reports. There's a couple reports there on criminal code, provincial traffic-related charges, and youth charges. The charge and youth charge reports breaks down the total charges laid down during the time frame and year-to-date. The youth charges report also includes the diversion, and that's usually done through the Crown and through the courts. And the warnings reports breaks down how many warnings were issued via the e-ticket program, so part of the traffic side of things. Any questions on those? They're pretty heavy reports on that.
Member Vanden Rishi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So do we do a fair amount of ride programs out there just out of curiosity, if we could know the number so the public understands that the ride programs still exist, they still happen at any time of the year, or?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. So that is still, the ride is very much a priority for the OPP and is very important to our chief, Chief Tibb in West Region. And so it's actually part of our reporting, our daily reporting to command staff. Our officers, our sergeants report to us how many rides we have every day. So every shift, there's an expectation to have at least one, if not two rides. So potentially at least 4 rides per day, every day. So, and then when we had the holiday season, that would increase as well. So we had money provided for us to help us with it during the festive season, so that showed a definite increase in the ride, but it's very much a priority for the OPP.
And I just want to add that that's great to hear. I did speak kind of off the record with Inspector Tate, and I do realize that on New Year's Eve we had horrible weather, right. And unfortunately we have to take into account the safety of our officers on the road for incidents like that, there's just times, unfortunately, where a ride program can't be done because of safety purposes. But it is great to know that these are running in our community, and we need to be very cognizant that we continue to work on the bringing down those numbers of impaired driving.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good point. Yeah, visibility is definitely a factor. All right, we'll move over to public complaints. Public complaints in Norfolk saw a decrease of 84.6% for this period, and year-to-date a decrease of 29.2% when compared with 2024. There is a note, and you're all familiar that we do have body-worn cameras now, right? So that was just rolled out late last year, perhaps just before the reporting on this. We're hoping to see a huge decrease with public complaints because of body-worn cameras and just holding everybody accountable, both the police and the public in their interactions. So we're looking forward to the results for next year, for sure. And we have the patrol hours report. We do have a significant increase in foot patrol. That was a priority for the inspector this year. So, a couple things that I wanted to point out. So we are looking at early resolution for our POA courts. I know when I got here, I came from municipalities that had early resolution courts, and it was really quite successful. For multiple reasons, it keeps the officers out of court as much as possible, so they're not sitting, at the day of trial, waiting for court only for that issue to be resolved. But it reduces stress actually for the accused as well, so that they feel like they can solve some of this problem outside of court. But also who's often overlooked are witnesses, right? So you have a witness come up for a POA trial. They take a day off of work, they show up, they're nervous because they've never testified, right? So now they're sitting in the body of the court waiting for their turn to testify at trial. That never happens, right? So if a lot of this can be mitigated by early resolution, we're looking for just those improvements, and then on top of that, potentially reducing overtime for our officers attending POA court on their days off, and then providing a fulsome service to Norfolk, which is what we're really after. We don't want anywhere from 3 to 6 officers on a given day shift tied up in POA court. So it's important to us. We're hoping that we can move forward to that, and we'll see where that goes.
Is there a timeline regarding this, or is there any more information?
We just started talking about it late last year, December. We had meetings with Norfolk County. So we're in the preliminary stages of just presenting our side of it. And then so we're going to look to our shareholders and partners, our JPs, if they have an opinion, yea or nay, or, in council if they're interested in pursuing that. So.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I think that would be a great program to have, and I think it would be beneficial to our detachment as well as our residents who may be dealing with the court system.
I agree. Thank you, Madam Chair. OMAP is starting up. So OMAP is offender management. So we have authorization from command, like Aurelia, to start to identify a person that will be dedicated directly to monitoring offenders in our area. So these are people that are dealing with the courts on conditions, on bail, maybe there's outstanding warrants, have GPS trackers. So we're looking to hold these people accountable and remind them that you made a promise to the courts, you promised to behave, you promised to do what you said you were going to do, be it a surety, stay with your surety, be it stay in for a curfew, whatever. So we're going to be looking for these people. So we're identifying somebody in the process right now. Once we have that person identified, we are going to move to training and then implementing that program. So we're going to be looking for people that are in our community. And this the OMAP system, they'll be dealing with the courts, they'll be dealing with the crowns, they'll be dealing with our court officers. So we're going to find out who's on conditions from Norfolk, but it also actually highlights people from other communities. So if you have say you have a bad guy from Peel or from Toronto, and they're put on conditions, and they have a surety, well, it's mom that lives in Norfolk. Well, that person may not be on our radar, and they are showing up and they're in our community. Well, now with this OMAP system, what we're hoping to do is identify that person, and then we as the OPP can check in on them and verify that their conditions are being held. So it's a good program. We're looking forward to it.
It's a phenomenal program. I'm thrilled to,
Great.
and I hope that sometimes we get the media coverage with our OPP Detachment Board meetings, and I think this would be a nice piece to get out into the public and let them know, because obviously this is something in terms of individuals breaking their conditions of bail and a lot of frustration in the public. So I think this is a great program and trying to get ahead of the issue. So that's wonderful.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree. Thank you. We would be willing to have, once we have this member trained and familiar with the program, we'd be willing to have them come by for a presentation to the board. I think that would make sense. Well, and then you can ask more questions and see how things are going. As you know, last year the detachment commander had a collision reduction strategy. He did that on his own for Norfolk, and it highlighted increasing traffic stops and POA events like traffic tickets. However, now organizationally, the commissioner and the deputy commissioners have highlighted the fact that our traffic stops and tickets are down compared to before COVID, I'm going to say. So it is a priority for the OPP to have members out there actually working hard at doing traffic stops and writing up offenders that need to be ready. So it's going to be highlighted again. We are pushing it hard. It's something we definitely support as command here in Norfolk. We are meeting with all platoons to ensure that they understand the why behind it, so there's the buy-in, but definitely it's a reminder that this is definitely a highlight and a very important part of policing and providing that service here in Norfolk. So I'm very happy that we're looking at that. With that, we saw some of the reporting there for the charges. We've already seen an increase in POA charges in the reporting for November and December. We're hoping to see more. And with more charges, it ties back into that early resolution solution that we're looking for. Is with more charges means more POA court time. And we're hoping to just streamline. A lot of communities have adopted early resolution, and we're hoping to do the same thing, just to streamline. So that's all that I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or anything from members? I think you did a great job explaining it all. I think as a recap, we've got some really good stats here happening in Norfolk County. And, in terms of Inspector Tate and the entire detachment, I think everyone is doing a wonderful job. Obviously, there are still some concerns in terms of a 2.7% increase in the drug one and the 4.4% in mental health calls. That's something I know that collectively collateral agencies as well in Norfolk County are working. Everyone is working their best to try and serve the unhoused and the vulnerable residents of our community. So we'll continue to keep our foot on the gas and work collectively with our OPP detachment, and we'll do our best to get those numbers down. But overall, great stats. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, it's an easy report when everything's looking good, right? Madam Chair, I do agree with you. It is unfortunate that there is an increase in mental health calls and drug calls. And those two are often, as you know, really tied in together, right? So it is a priority, definitely a priority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, I'm going to flip back up because on item 9, items for consideration, 9.5 was the vulnerable sector checks. I always have a tough time saying that word. I don't know why, but anyways. So I may end up putting you back on, kind of on the hot seat here. But it came to my attention yesterday with the vulnerable sector checks that there's a third party involved now for the checks. Are you familiar at all with this, or is this something that we want to bring up at the next meeting if you're not comfortable with answering some questions about it?
I haven't heard about the third-party checks. I know that it's a complaint across the board through all the OPP detachments. Superintendents have brought it up, so the commissioner is aware of it. And to mitigate some of the backlog in the volunteer checks and vulnerable sector checks is that they brought in a lot of people on overtime to try to clear that list. I haven't heard about the third-party people. I mean, I can personally say that I had my own check done, and it took quite a while, and I was a little bit frustrated with that. So I know what they're talking about. I know what the people are talking about and they're complaining about. It is frustrating. We're hoping for better solutions, and I'll have we as a command team will look into it and see if we can get you a better answer than that for next meeting.
Okay, that would be great. And like I said, I just kind of added it to the agenda at approximately like 4:30, 5 o'clock yesterday, just because it was something that came to my attention. And Member Veery, he spoke to it as well, that he's involved quite a bit with minor hockey in Port Dover, and people need to have their vulnerable sector checks done to be a trainer, help on the bench, you know, those types of things. We've got parents who want to get involved in different sports, and Member Veery made a good point yesterday. He said, you know, sometimes kids just out of whim say, yeah, geez, Mom, I do want to play soccer, and then you sign them up, and then they're looking for help, and as a parent, you've got to get this vulnerable sector check done. So my understanding is that they're good for 2 years now, as opposed to just 1, but I'm glad to know that it's on the radar of our detachment and our Inspector Tate, so hopefully we can let the community know that we're working together to try and get this backlog taken care of and make sure that we don't end up in that situation again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Agreed. We feel their frustration, and we'll look into it. Right.
All right, with that, there was nothing in terms of correspondence arising from the previous business. As I usually do before we do adjournment, anyone have any issues or anything, comments from the floor, the members? Nothing at this time. So item 11, adjournment. Could I have a motion to adjourn at 10:10 a.m.? Member Veery, and a seconder, Member Vanden Rishi, all in favor? And that is carried. That motion is carried. So we are adjourned. Enjoy your day, everybody. Thank you.